In both fiction and reality, there is evil, but from where does it come from? Does it erupt from a lifetime of disappointment and neglect? Is it something learned from a master, a chosen path to power? Or is it a curse placed on the hearts of everyone, each to conquer as the heroes of their own journey? While we often fantasize about conquering evil for good, shackling it permanently, and ridding it from the world forever, the truth is, evil is eternal, an immortal piece of a much greater whole. One of my favorite symbols is the Tao, an eternal swirling of dark and light. So much of existence can be summed up in just this one symbol. Heavens, hells, life, death, truth and lies, all exist within the Tao. In every dark there is a little light, and so too in every light there is a little dark. Those who choose to live their lives in their darkness, suppressing their own light with all their strength, are those we bestow with the title of villain. Villains are commonly among our favorite characters. A great villain drives the plot as much as the hero can and gives us, the reader, a shared goal with the hero, daring us to finish the plot to see their reign of terror ended and the world restored. On the other hand, some characters experience negative character arcs, starting out as would-be heroes full of light and hope, and over time surrendering it all to unlock the powers of evil for themselves. Regardless of their reasoning, for most all characters, evil is a choice shaped by their perspective. Like heroes, each villain is a story waiting to be told. However, there exists a smaller subset of true villains who never existed alongside the hope of choice. There is very little known about the life of Ganondorf. At most, we know he was born in the desert as a male Gerudo, a people of whom are exclusively female. It is said that a male is only born to the Gerudo once every 100 years, destined to be king. In some versions of this story, he is born to two powerful witches. In other versions, he is a masterful thief. But in all cases, he is one who lives entirely in his dark side, using the Gerudo's mystic powers to tear the world asunder. Ganondorf's evil deeds are undeniable as they both affect Link and the world around him. But what is questionable is how much choice Ganondorf has in his own actions. An ongoing debate in psychology is that of nature versus nurture. How much of your decision-making is based on your unchangeable personality, who you are regardless of any level of growth? Or is it based more on how you were raised? How much does your environment change you and influence your thinking long-term? For many characters and stories, this is not a big question. Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader is obviously a case of nurture, his delving into the dark side being a result of the death of his lover and the promise that darkness could restore her. Though he started life as a happy and adventurous child, situations beyond his control broke him down and changed his way. An example of a more complex character, consider Joffrey Baratheon of Game of Thrones. His upbringing under his father King Robert would have been strict and regal, but it would have certainly been honorable and gave him no great shortcuts. Yet, the moment his father died and he was crowned as king, his nature overtook any attempts to nurture his path, and Joffrey actively fostered the darkness within him, devastating everyone around him. Now, examining Ganondorf, it would be easy to say evil is in his nature. He too was crowned as a king at a young age, and his unquenchable thirst for power shaped every decision. This would be an acceptable response, but the deeper you look into Ganondorf's character across games, the less satisfying this answer becomes. In Legends, there exists a third option to nature and nurture, and that is destiny. Destiny is when your story extends beyond the control you have over your own life, often relinquishing personal agency to some higher power. When destiny rules your story, your nature is irrelevant, your upbringing is irrelevant. You simply exist to serve your role. If you cannot access your nature nor nurture in guiding your decision-making, can you even say you are truly alive? In Twilight Princess, this is on full display as Ganondorf faces execution by the sages. It was not by his earned strength or cunning that Ganondorf survived the execution. Rather, it was a divine joke that bestowed him the Triforce of Power. The gods had a plan for him, and though he went on to live in some capacity, he was always doomed to die by the hands of the hero. Ganondorf is by no means a normal human, and even by Gerudo standards he is an anomaly, yet he is an expected anomaly. Another word for an expected anomaly is a prophecy. A prophecy is a harbinger of destiny, but it is not the Gerudo's prophecy that restricts Ganondorf's free will. Rather, it is a much older and darker prophecy that spirals endlessly through time, that weaves his life into existence over and over with the single goal of obtaining the Triforce. Long before Hyrule was populated with humans, in an era of spirits and gods, there existed another with the same goal as Ganondorf, to obtain the Triforce and rule the world with their tribes of demons. Their name was Demise, and it is said that the goddess Hylia sealed him away as the imprisoned one for 1,000 years. It was not until the end of Skyward Sword that Demise is released again, to now fight the hero and take his throne as the King of Evil. The hero, of course, defeats him, but with his final breaths, Demise vows that his hatred and the curse of the demon tribe will be reborn in a cycle without end as it evolves, cursing the bloodline of the goddess and the spirit of the hero. There is intrigue in these choice of words, as they are distinct and separate. To consider them specifically, Demise cursed the bloodline of Hylia, which descends to Zelda and ties her directly to the goddess Hylia in all cases, which is true as far as we know of all versions of Zelda. However, in the case of the hero, Demise chose to only curse the spirit of the hero, not his descendants. This suggests that the hero doesn't have to be related to a previous link in any way. They simply need to answer the call to action and embark with their own free will to take part in the prophecy. These two pieces represent nature and nurture, opposed directly by the empty gravity of destiny. In tarot, the card that describes Ganondorf is the Death card. This should be no great surprise, since Demise himself is another name of death. But let's look symbolically at what is happening in this card, and what death means in the mystic universe. The Death card shows the messenger of death, a skeleton dressed in black armor riding a white horse. The skeleton represents the part of the body which survives long after life has left it. The armor symbolizes invincibility, and that death will come no matter what. Its dark color is that of mourning and the mysterious, while the horse is the color of purity and acts as a symbol of strength and power. Death carries a black flag decorated with a white 5-petal rose, reflecting beauty, purification, and immortality. And the number 5 represents change. Together, these symbols reveal that death isn't just about life ending. Death is about endings and beginnings, birth and rebirth, change and transformation. There is beauty in death, and it is an inherent part of being alive. A royal figure appears to be dead on the ground, while a young woman, child, and bishop plead with the skeletal figure to spare them. But, as we all know, death spares no one. In the background, a boat floats down the river, akin to the mythological boats escorting the dead to the afterlife. On the horizon, the sun sets between two towers, in a sense, dying each night and being reborn every morning. The world of Hyrule is no stranger to death, and many of the symbols seen in the card are represented over and over in Hyrule. In Ocarina of Time, we get to see what happens when Ganondorf actually does get the Triforce, and it is a perfect picture of death. When Link awakens in the Temple of Time, he finds the old Hyrule castle has been obliterated. The once lively market is now populated with the undead, and all ordinary people have either fled to the far corners of the earth for safety, or perished. In fact, the first several hours of gameplay in Ganondorf's Hyrule are spent fighting exclusively undead enemies, from ghosts in the graveyard to the Stalfos of the Forest Temple, even to the ghost of Ganondorf himself. Phantom Ganon in fact looks stunningly similar to the Pale Rider in the Death card, and for a time, it seems that everyone in Hyrule would have been able to relate to the pleading innocence staring the ghastly spectre of doom right in the face. However, there is an old saying for times like these: the king is dead. Long live the king. Though there is much to be impressed about with Ganondorf as a villain, the Zelda series as a whole is surprisingly void of unique villains in its plots. Often, a game will set up a would-be villain that acts as an obstacle to the hero for the majority of the game, before abandoning the villain to bring Ganondorf back into the spotlight. Though I've often found this personally disappointing, I think it's been a hint all along that Ganondorf lacks any meaningful level of freedom in his life. These pseudo-villains are in fact often suffering from a similar lack of choice that muffles their nature and nurture, experiencing only a fraction of the torment that demise brings into the world for those who choose darkness over light. For example, in Majora's Mask, Ganondorf is not present in any capacity, and the villain is entirely unique. In the same breath, I will mention though that Zelda is also not present in the story of Majora's Mask either, leaving the plot entirely to Link. With 2 of the 3 pillars of the Triforce absent, it suggests that Majora's Mask is more of a side story or personal adventure to Link, rather than a true entry into the legend. While it would be interesting to watch Link and Zelda fight against some new powerful creature that breathes some life into the series, simply put, that is not what their lives are about. Their lives are tied wholly and completely into Ganondorf's, as they shadow each other's strengths and weaknesses. Ganondorf has proven to be eternal, beyond the reaches of death for very long, and more powerful than any creature in any realm. It is not Hylia, nor the hero who cannot escape demise. Rather, it is Demise himself who is trapped in the cycle of hatred and death, destined to try and fail and die and fade into history, only to experience it all again whether he wants to or not, unable to save himself, because there is no self to save. Ganondorf isn't a real person. He is merely a curse on the last sparkles of light that sit in a world already consumed by darkness.